daily deep dive into everything Utah Jazz.
It's time!
All season long and even in the off season, it's Jazz Daily with JJ and Alex on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Happy Friday to you. Jamming in as many NBA games as we can before you get a break with this league. And, of course, always exciting this time of year is the trade deadline. And when I say always, I mean this year was especially wild. Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. And, of course, your Doug Smith family of dealerships as well. Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and now, of course, Mitsubishi in American Fork and Spanish Fork. And in Linden, it is the Doug Smith family of dealerships. Joining us on the program right now, Big T, Thurl Bailey, going to be on the call tonight, of course, as the Jazz are down in Phoenix taking on the Suns. They're at the Clippers tomorrow. And then they're on Monday, the possibility of a Luka Doncic sighting as a Laker on the floor possibly. That's what they're aiming for them. But got to get to the first things first here, Big T. In Phoenix, how did the trade deadline treat this crew? Obviously, when you're on the plane traveling with the team, it's a weird time of year. But really, it was just draft picks that we're talking about this year, and nobody had to not as many movements in terms of guys except for Drew Eubanks. Big T, thanks for being with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Good talking to you guys. I think as a player, you know, it's always up to the 11th hour that you might either be a little bit nervous or, you know, wonder if anything's going to happen. But, you know, not a lot of movement on the Jazz side. But as you just mentioned a minute ago, just some blockbuster trades, especially the Luka Doncic AD trade. But yeah, I mean, the Jazz are still the same, you know, blueprint. I had a great win the other night against the Warriors. I thought that was a kind of a culmination of some of the things you're looking for and planning for. Some of the young players, you know, doing a great job. Keyonte coming up clutch, which helps his progress. But yeah, onward we go, and we're here against another team who had some potential movement going on, but you never know what that locker room's like right now.
I think a lot of people thought the Jazz would move more players at the deadline, specifically some of their veterans like John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, maybe even a Colin Sexton. Were you surprised that they didn't move any of those guys, and what does it say about those guys and their future with the club?
Yeah, I don't know if I was surprised. I don't think I was really surprised. I think as much as I have been around Justin and as much as I have heard he and Danny talk, you know, it has to be the right thing at the right time. Now, those players you just aforementioned have really increased their value, which one isn't a bad thing for the Jazz, and it's definitely not bad for them. You've got valuable assets. And so, you know, I think one of the things that is really showing is that this team, the way it is right now, these guys are still bought in. Will Hardy still has that trust in them, and they trust him to do what they have to do when they're here with this team. And, you know, obviously the trade deadline's over, but, you know, talks continue to happen. The off season is going to come. You never know what's going to happen then, but right now it's business as usual for this team.
Big T, you mentioned that Warriors game the other night and just how that thing ended. And, you know, we were going back and watching just like what the timing was because they were down 11 with, I think, 3.5 minutes left. And that's usually spelt, you know, not good news for the Jazz this season. But to be able to have that comeback the way that they did and to have those young guys be the ones that were leading it up and to have, or you know, and even JC hitting that three that was so clutch there toward the end. Some of your younger guys and your veterans coming together, but that last stretch of the block by Walker, the pass from Isaiah Collier to Keyonte George, who hits the three, that to me, like, I think people look at that and go, okay, now you might catch lightning in a bottle with these guys. If there's some version of being able to see a vision of the future with those three guys and other people obviously around them, that must have been really fun to be able to watch and say, hey, that's what they're trying to build here.
It was fun, but I think we've seen signs of it in other games. I thought the Indiana game was well fought. I thought that, as Coach Will Hardy says, there's just such a thin line, right, between losing a game and potentially pulling it out. And Jazz got as close to it on the other side of it, I think, with Indiana. But to have a game like you had against the Warriors not too long after that and pull it together and rally, especially, from the three-point line against the greatest three-point shooter ever, who in those situations, what he's capable of, in Steph Curry. It was a great win to have at home, especially, right? And when you look at that arena and you look at the record for the Jazz and you say, wow, they're still packing the house. I mean, that says a lot. It says a lot about Jazz Nation and them understanding what the plan is and the blueprint and the patience they need to have. But that was certainly a game that I think gave you a glimpse of really what can be if this team stays the right course and ends up in good situations moving forward.
Thurl, for a good chunk of the time that you played for the Jazz, you were good enough to be a starter. Probably should have been a starter, but you came off the bench because Frank and Jerry asked you to do that. And now we're watching Keyonte George take on a similar role. As somebody who's been through that situation himself, what stands out to you about the way Keyonte's handling this situation?
That's a great question. I think it should be known that I wasn't the first one asked to come off the bench. The others or other that was asked refused to do it. And it's understandable because, there's a thought about being one of the starting five that you're perceived as one of the best players on the team or one of the best five on the team. But to me, it just ended up being about the team. It was the best thing to put us in a position to be successful. And it wasn't necessarily an internal easy choice for me because I'm human as well. But I think what won the day was that, look, if I'm asked to play this role, and I know that it's not necessarily about starting, but it's about who's finishing. If I'm in the game, in a clutch game at the end, that's what I like to have. And so I knew I was going to get my minutes. I knew I was going to play an important role. I just had to embrace the role and go out and do my job. And honestly, I think it was tough for Keyonte. And so that first game, maybe the first game and a half or so, it takes the landscape's different. You're mentally different. You're preparing differently. And so I think now Keyonte, as you saw, has really embraced what's been asked of him. Now, that role may not be permanent for him, but he's embraced it. And, you look what happened. He gets that big shot against the Warriors. And I think that right there for him personally, I think says that, look, I love this game. I'm going to do what I'm asked to do to try to help this team to win. And that's really the mentality you have to have. And I think Keyonte's gotten that.
Now I'm dying to know who that player was that wouldn't come off the bench back in the 80s.
I'm sure you are.
Now you got me guessing, Big T.
Thurl Bailey, everybody. No, yeah. Leaving you on the edge of your seat every
That was
week.
a great nugget. Thanks.
I know. But you know what? I mean, I think that we just assume, like, hey, this professional locker room, they're pros, man. They're keeping it together all the
they're
time.
human beings.
I know. And then you watch across the league some of this stuff. I was just thinking about when you were talking about Coach Hardy and that decision to to sit down with Key and to be able to have that discussion. There's got to be a lot of trust there, and I feel like the players do trust Will Hardy. They know his basketball IQ. They know what he's trying to build.
I believe they do. I get to see it, right? I get to see it a lot traveling with these guys, and look, it's like family. If you told me I get along with every family member all the time, I know you'd be lying because it's not that way. It's not reality. And that's what this is. It's a group of people who are family to each other. And even if sometimes you disagree, you still have to trust that, one, Coach Will Hardy and his staff are doing the right things for the team and your career and your development. And so I get to see it in action here. I just love the way Will communicates in his own way and in their own way, because you can't treat everybody the same, obviously. You have to communicate with them differently. And I think that Will has just done a superb job from my vantage point of doing that.
I haven't got your thoughts on that Doncic trade. I think it shocked all of us. It shocked the world. I mean, everybody didn't see that coming, and it was done very secretive. What was your reaction when you heard that, and what impact do you think that's going to have on the balance of power in the league?
Well, I think it was shocking in a sense, and then, as a player, former player, in another sense, it wasn't. And the first thing you ask yourself is why, and why would the team do this? There's probably maybe some internal things we don't know. But, I mean, you got two great players, one who just took their team to the finals, and now they're moving on to different teams. So there's probably a lot going on that we don't know, or maybe not a lot, but maybe there's some things, obviously, that we don't know that are a little deeper in that. But, I mean, both are great players. Both will be great on their prospective teams. Who got the best of it? I think it remains to be seen. Anthony Davis has a record of not being totally healthy throughout the season, but he seems to have maybe kind of climbed out of that. He could definitely move Dallas to that next level as a rim protector. He wants to play a little more four, so you've got guys like, a guy like Gafford who could be that five. So they're going to be okay. The Lakers, you've got a plan, although LeBron James is playing well at 40 years old. Mm-hmm. Father Time's going to catch up, and you've got to think about the future of that team and what direction you're going to go in. So both teams won in a way, but long term, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
You got to see probably some reaction from the coaches and the players too. Was it as eyebrow raising for everybody else as it was for all of us too? Was everybody kind of in that state of shock watching how this thing happened? It's not their team, but at the same time, they watch this whole thing go on around them in the Western Conference. It's not hard to look around and go, wow, that is wild.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, besides the trade, is that how secretly it was kept. Because, rumors start somewhere, right? And sometimes those rumors start with the truth, somebody knowing something. And especially in this business, and I thought it was just incredible how almost no one knew. And that is hard to do in this day and age with leaks and social media. It's just almost impossible, but they were able to do it. I think that may have been the part that, other than the two involved in the trade, the fact that nobody had any inkling. It wasn't even a rumor started that ended up being the truth. That was just blam, right? Yeah, it was just in one day. And so that's amazing.
I got to ask you about Isaiah Collier before we let you go. Just continue to be impressed with him and what he's doing right now as he's developing. 20 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds against the Warriors. The Jazz don't have a lot of guys in their history that have been able to get triple-doubles. Is this a guy, Thurl, that's going to get a lot of those once he reaches his potential?
I think so. I mean, I've asked Coach Will Hardy about the difference between an Isaiah Collier when he first came to the Jazz to now. And he talks about how when he came in, he was an introvert, and that's how in his conversations and his practices and everything, he told him that in that position, in that point guard position, you cannot be an introvert, right? That's a instant leadership position. So I think Isaiah is really trying to live up to that and then understand who he is as a player, not try to overdo it, but continue to develop in things that maybe he's weak at, but use his strengths right now. He's doing that. I mean, I like the way he's just getting in the defensive players that aren't set and just kind of nudging them out of the way and getting to the basket, making decisions with that speed of his. So, yeah, his development is just, that's what you like. I mean, if you hate losing, but if there's something good that can come out of it, something that, looking forward, you can say, a guy like Isaiah Collier can be a great pro. There's some really good things going on. He's just been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch him be that pass-first guy, but be a tough rookie that's making a huge impact his first year.
T, I don't know if you saw this, but tickets on average right now for that Lakers Jazz game on Monday, the average ticket is $212 for that game because they're wanting to see what's going to happen if Luka ends up getting that start. So you guys are going to be setting this one up. The Suns tonight, and then you've got the Clippers tomorrow, and then a break on Sunday, and then Monday, that one in L.A. Versus the possible debut as a Laker, Luka Doncic. So fun few days for you guys here. Good luck on the calls, and thanks as always for coming on the program here with us, Big T.
Isn't this league something, man?
It's wild.
That's entertainment right there. Thank you, guys.
You appreciate it. There's Big T, everybody. My goodness.
It never lacks for drama.